Hello, everyone, and grand rising. Today we have the phenomenal Dr. Eunice Guam. I want to pronounce your name correctly, Guanamasima
Gwanmesia.
Gwamesia. Thank you for joining us today. She is here to talk about the power of your identity. She is a doctor, an author, and an advocate. And welcome, Queen. How are you doing this morning?
I am blessed and highly favored, and thanks for having me on your show, Miss Denise.
Thank you for being here with us. Our conversation it wasn't just one of those aha moments for me, but it just brought more awareness that we should have in our homes, in our own communities. So I
Mm,
wanted to have you on here to tell your story and your success
mm,
and why you're passionate about what you do. So could you tell us a
absolutely.
little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure. Thank you so much for having me on your show this morning. It is a beautiful Friday morning here in Delaware. I am in Magnolia, Delaware, and it's a beautiful morning. I haven't been out yet though, but it looks beautiful from outside my window. But with that said, I have had quite an interesting journey. I'm just a little girl from the cornfields of Cameroon in West Africa, but I have been quite through an interesting journey. But I'm not going to give you the long version of that journey. I'm just going to give you a little snippet of my journey. So, my journey started at a very tender age of 21 years old in Cameroon, Central West Africa, where I had a dream of becoming a teacher like my dad. But that dream would get cut short because I was comfortable and refused to learn another language. And I would flunk out of college because I saw that as someone else's responsibility. That failure will take me through around the world, through Canada, to the United States of America, and I would make home in Delaware.
Yeah.
And once I got to Delaware, I was met with transformation where I learned about my cultural awareness and sensitivity was really tested. Where I met a stranger who advised me not to apply for a job because of my skin color, because I was an immigrant, and because I had a heavy accent and being a woman. I'm sure you can imagine how I felt. I felt so sad, so confused. My heart was bleeding. I was very disheartened and felt hurt. Have you been at that place in a moment where you totally got confused and felt so confused you became speechless and did not know how to express yourself?
Yes.
As though these were predeterminants to a job opportunity, as though our skin color, our accent, who we are as a human being, have to determine what type of jobs we can do. That's how they've told them. That's how the media, and other people who think they're better than other people who look different or sound different,
Yes.
have
It's
been
like
told.
programmed in because you don't come out of birth like that with
Absolutely.
feeling hate
That's
for
what they've
another
been
human
told.
being or thinking
Absolutely.
your skin color is more important than
Yes.
somebody else's. You don't come out like
Yes.
that. It's programmed.
Yes. We just celebrated Martin Luther King birthday and day of service. What did he tell us? He said he once made a statement and he said, choose to be a thermostat and not a thermometer. Why did he say that? Because you have a choice of how you're going to treat others. You have a choice how you behave out in the world. I come from a health background. And I remember I've always been a night nurse, and my colleagues coming in the morning saying, "Oh, I'm not going to greet because I am not a morning person." If you're not a morning person, guess what? Go find another job. Don't work in the morning when you know you're going to come in with a sad face, with negative energy. You're coming in an environment where people need healing, but you're coming in with such negative energy, creating a toxic environment. Go somewhere else or find another shift.
Mm,
Even Kofi Annan once said, we may all have different religions. We may all have different skin colors, but we're all of the human race. And today I remind each and every one of us, we may all be different, but they're all man-made differences. We can choose to embrace each other so that together we can grow individually and professionally and build those united communities so
yes.
that we can all thrive. and live as one. And that's the part of my story I like to share. And
Yes.
that's who I am.
Yes. I like to tell. Well, as my kids was growing up, because my daughter, she had a situation where she experienced racism, and
Hmm.
I've always told them, if you close your eyes and you have all of these different races in front of you, and somebody slaps you, you're not going to know what color did it. So judge people by their character and by their heart, not by the color of their skin or even the
Amen.
color of clothes on their back.
Amen. 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 And you
And
know
just
what I
because
will
it's
add to
done to
that?
you.
Your daughter is absolutely right. And what do I add to that is we all bleed red.
Yes.
We all bleed red. Your blood, because you're a different color, is not any different than the other person that's different from you. Blood is the same color. Oxygen is the same amount of oxygen we all breathe in the air. So why do we act different or treat others different? We all bleed red.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
So, what do you think is the important responsibility to having cultural awareness?
Hmm. That's a good question. Why should we have cultural awareness? That's an excellent question. If we think about it this way, we all come from so many different backgrounds. We're all never going to be of the same level of awareness. We all have different lived experiences. We each grow up in some community that has norms, values, and beliefs. Those norms, values, and beliefs are passed on from generation to generation. At some point in our lives, we're going to move and migrate and go to different parts of the world or different communities within our same nation. And you're going to encounter people who have lived different lived experiences and cultures. So it is just so important that we become aware of who is within our community. But the most important thing, though, is while you're becoming aware of that new environment that you're in, you still need to be able to hold on to your foundation and those norms and values and beliefs that you grew up being taught, you grew up knowing. Let me give you an example. Let's take an example of a child who maybe comes from, say, from Cameroon, right? And is from a Christian family home, who has been taught how to celebrate their Christianity. Maybe it's Christmas, maybe it's Easter, maybe it's whatever religion they celebrated at their home. But it's now come here to the United States and made another child from, say, a Lebanese child with an Muslim background or Islamic background. They're not going to naturally start having a conversation about their culture and their religion.
Mm.
But they get into a school system and they're being now taught about these cultures and religion. Wouldn't they be more comfortable exchanging those values and beliefs about those cultures and religion now because they were taught at home and within their community? And they're comfortable because you could not teach somebody else something that you're not comfortable with or you did not know.
That's true.
So that is the importance of being culturally aware, because then that carries on from generation to generation, and you can teach somebody something that you know. And that's why I always say lived experience is so valuable, because you're teaching somebody that you have experienced and you have lived it. Let's take an example of even the racism. Who
Mm.
are you to tell me what I have lived through if you haven't been in my shoes? How can you empathize with me? You don't understand what I have lived through. You don't understand the trauma and the pain that I have been through. You just don't get it. So when you're coming to me to be an ally for me and my people, you have got to learn and allow me to teach you what we have been through so you can speak my language and advocate for us.
Mm.
That's simply what it is. Awareness is allowing yourself to learn and walk in the shoes of that person or those people you're trying to advocate for or be an ally for. Simply just wanting to know and put yourself in the shoes of others.
What inspired you to write The Power of Your Identity? Because that's an expressive, impressive story. Um, and it's a children's book, but it's for all adults as well. What
Yes.
inspired you?
What inspired me? Oh my God. So I am a believer that Whatever challenges you go through in life, the challenges are there for a reason. God puts you in a place for a reason, just so that tomorrow you will have a testimony. And the journey that I have been through, even though despite the challenges, there's so many lessons I have learned through those challenges. And the lessons that I've learned through the process is what I always hold on to. Even though the challenges and the stories that I shared earlier are there, but I always stop and think, what is it that I could do different to help? So I always have conversations with my kids, even though, I had those challenges getting to a job. But while on the job, I always seize the teaching moments to educate people what they did not know. And I always remember vividly one of my best friends today, when I first got the job that I was told not to apply for, she would
Mm.
always say to me, "What?" with that extra A in the middle, like, "Where do you come from?" Rolling her eyes, "From across the waters?" Like, yes, I walked from Africa 10,000 miles to come here. But one day I told her, I said, "Listen, let's go have a conversation," because she had done it repeatedly. I said, "You're being so condescending, and I do not appreciate that." And she started crying. She did not realize she was doing that to me. She said, "As a matter of fact, you're one of the nurses here that teach me something, and I will always remember just because of the way you do it, even though you have an accent." Now, that taught me that conflict resolution, number one, you need to do it right away. But number two, also, she did not realize she was doing that. So it also taught me that my accent was not a hindrance to whatever I could teach her. It was just a preconceived notion. So that led me to believe that I needed to teach them what they did not know. So as I grew up into the adult that I am today, I start to teach my children, looking back the journey that I have traveled, adapting to a new world, teaching, raising my kids, especially my child with a disability, helping to navigate through the school system with my children is like, okay, what do I leave for my children? I realized that this conversation about people hating people, embracing differences really need to start at the kitchen table. So I
Yes.
said to myself, I need to start with my own children, having these conversations at the kitchen table. So as we carried these conversations, I said, what about this book? They need to be able to know who they are and be proud of themselves. Because when you can understand about your identity and embrace your identity and be proud of who you are, then you can gain that self image, that self confidence, and a sense of security. And when we can do that as parents at home, and then before the kids go out into the world, and the teachers embrace it and meet the students where they are, they can help to complete that package. And then we can build kids who are self confident and can go out into the world boldly and can face anything in the world, and they will be thriving and also comfortable with relating to other kids that come from any background. And we will resolve this issue of hatefulness, bullying, and build more inclusive classroom cultures where these kids are confident and can thrive
Mm.
and will get better outcomes. That is how this book came about.
Yes. Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. That is beautiful. That is beautiful. Um, and I'm learning that even in cultural awareness, even in the small community that I'm in, it's not that small, but there's so many different people and different cultures and different races that it's okay to embrace the differences. You
Absolutely.
might taste a food that you've never tried before and you find out that it's delicious.
Oh, yes.
Or
Yes.
learn, you know, you might meet somebody that can help you learn a new language, just
Mhm,
by sitting in the park together.
mhm,
It's okay. But
yeah,
we always put this shield up and this mask on that, um, you know, each race is better than the own. And we're not getting anywhere like that. We're just not. And it's
absolutely.
time for a
Absolutely.
change.
Yeah. It's interesting you bring up the issue of food. Even within cultures, we still have this egocentric behavior where we think mine is better than yours. And with the food idea, I remember when I first came to this country, taking food to work and people trying to smell your food. How disrespectful. And I was like, you really just stick your nose in my food? Why did you just do that? You know? And that is one of the things also that I didn't mention about why, because my daughter will, at some point, was refusing to take food to school simply because people will ask her to explain over and over. This is her reason. Why, mommy? Why would I have to explain to people what I'm eating all the time? Why do I have to explain to them that my food is packaged differently and it takes me longer to heat up my lunch compared to them just taking a sandwich out of the bag to eat when I have to, package my own lunch in a different way because it has to be preserved in a certain manner. And so it's that awareness of how food is processed and how it's handled, and just coming to terms that keep an open mindset, try different things. It's just as nutritious as yours, it's just prepared differently. It's the same food items, just prepared with different ingredients, even within our own community. For example, jollof rice. If you're within the African community, we have different forms of jollof rice prepared differently with different ingredients. We fight. It's love fighting, I call it. It's healthy fighting. Everybody wants to compete and see who is going to cook the best jollof rice, who is going to present it the best, nice cuisine way, and all things like that. And if you buy this book, you're going to love it because what I'm talking about is in this book. There's a sample of menus of different foods and languages and all of that. So just be ready. This book is going to come down. You're just going to love it. So that's the landscape of this book, right? But with that said, it's just we need to keep an open mind. Try something different because you just don't know. And there's just something about food and music and language. When you come together, creating those encounters, you become somebody that you didn't even realize you were.
Mm.
Over food and music, you get to connect with people at different levels. Unlike when you're at work, you're focused on just completing that task you have to do. But within a social environment, you're relaxed, you're eating, you're drinking over music. So create those encounters within your organizations. When I was teaching at an Institute of Higher Learning, I developed an annual celebration of cultural heritage for 13 years. The initial idea was just to bring our nursing students together, just to build morale within our department. But of a sudden, it became a university-wide event. And before we knew it, it became a community. People from outside coming to campus, and we had fashion shows, sampling of food, and it just really blossomed.
Ooh.
And in that moment, I realized change needed to come. And I said, instead of being part of the problem, I'll be part of the solution. As they always say, you can choose to be part of the problem or you can choose to be part of the solution. And that's exactly how Unity Solutions was birthed, because I chose to be part of the solution. And
Yes.
here
And I
we are
think that's
today.
important, that open mind part. If you just
Yes,
have that, then you'll be more accepting of the change and to
yes,
evolve and
yes,
grow,
yes,
because the energy and the happiness. Happiness is
yes,
a skill that I'm learning.
yes,
Happiness is a skill.
yes,
And
yes,
it's more important than trying to see the differences in each other.
yes, absolutely.
And
Happiness
I'm
and
sorry that your daughter
forgiveness.
had to go. Yes,
Yes,
yes.
happiness and
And
forgiveness.
sorry that your daughter had to go through that. Because I like to say, the bottom line is treat me like you want to treat you. Treat
Absolutely.
others how you want to be treated.
Hmm.
And you wouldn't want nobody standing over you asking you, how did that sandwich was created? What's the ingredients in the sandwich? It's a sandwich. Doesn't
Exactly.
matter. This is my food. That's your food.
Hmm. Hmm.
Don't be
Hmm.
over my food,
Exactly. With your
blowing the
nose,
cat.
what can drop out of that nose, right? Boy,
So that was your driving force behind that book, and that's great. That is
absolutely.
good.
Yes. Yes.
Um, you told me what your favorite quote was, but could you tell the audience and why?
My favorite quote is, if you want change, that change must begin with you. And this is what my father always taught us, his 6 children. If you're doing the same thing over and over and there is no change coming, why do you keep doing the same thing? So it's got to begin with you. And as they always said, the journey of 1,000 miles begin with what? That one step. And I always say, you have to be the captain of your own ship because only
Mm.
you know your destiny. Nobody's going to do it for you. So if you keep waiting for someone to bring you change, nobody's going to do it but you. So you have got to take the lead. And they always say, knowledge is power, knowledge is power. But I like to paraphrase it and say, knowledge is power, quite all right. But you have got to take the action to make that knowledge become power. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Um, what are some steps, or do you have some advice or tips or resources that you can give us to bring on that change and awareness about cultural awareness in our communities?
Steps or tips? Number one, if you're trying to bring awareness to your community, we have to all be with the understanding that it will take each and every one of us. It's not no one particular person that has to bring this effort of cultural awareness or diversity within our communities. We all have to be cognizant, though, that not everyone is going to be at the same level. We all each have to play a role, understanding that some people will not buy the change right away, but we don't give up. We keep pushing to bring everyone along. But it always has to start at the top. And it's all going to depend on which community we're dealing with. Is it your church community? Is it your local community? Is it your workplace? Within your workplace, everyone has got to be on board. When I say everyone, it doesn't mean everybody's going to buy the idea. Some people will be naysayers, some people will be the champions, the pioneers, the influencers, the hesitators. But the leadership has got to buy in the change and get everybody to buy into the ideology that yes, we need to go on this journey and make it a culture of the organization. But each and every individual needs to understand that we're going to be aware of it, but not everybody's going to be at the same level. So when you choose or self identify what role you're going to play on that journey, understand that it's an ongoing process. It is not a one time and done affair. We're all going to start, we'll fall, but the important thing is pick ourselves back up and keep going. But understand that whoever is within our community is not just there because we want to say we brought this one in, we're trying to embrace, but we're just going to embrace them and let them sit without having a voice. We've got
Mm.
to include everyone because there is no diversity without inclusion. We're not just checking the box to say, oh, we're bringing this number of women, we're bringing this number of Muslim people, we're bringing the number of Catholics, we're bringing the number of Baptist people, we're bringing this number of Africans, we're bringing this number of Hispanics. That's not how it works. Diversity is acknowledging differences. Yes, I get that. But you're not going to bring them and have them sit on the menu. You're bringing them so everybody can be on the dance floor. So if we're going to create awareness, we all have to be doing the same dance to the same music. Because if some people are going right, some are going left, some going front, some going backwards, there's going to be confusion. Because when there's confusion in the family, there is no peace.
Mm.
So we've got to have that inclusion so that we're all respected, we're all valued, everybody feels like they belong so that we can all thrive. That's exactly what we need to do in every community that we belong in.
What do you think are the pros and some cons of cultural identity?
Mm. Pros and cons. I'm going to say it this way. Like I said earlier, cultural identity. Let me let me go backwards for a second. I hear people say I don't have a culture. I'm going to tell you right now, for those of you watching, you definitely have a culture. Everyone has a culture. You did not fall from the sky. You were born somewhere. You grew up in some community. You may have moved from one community to the other. Wherever, whatever community you're in or whatever culture you're in, there is norms, there's values, and there's beliefs. It may have changed because you moved. You may have experienced an identity crisis based on whatever is going on in your life at the time. But there are factors that are causing you to go through that. But back to the question is your cultural identity is very important. And the benefit, like I said earlier, it helps you to build your self confidence, your self image, and that sense of security. So you're walking out boldly and confident to conquer the world. The downside of it is when you experience that crisis and you don't know where you are and you're trying to fit in instead of being a culture add. The difference between culture fit and culture add is knowing that you are a somebody. You have unique skills and talents that nobody else has. You have that potential you were birthed with. And you're coming into that culture to add value that only you have. So when you try to act like the people that you now find yourself within that new community, wanting to fit into that culture, that is where the problem becomes. And that is not you. Because there's no two you in this world. You are only you in this world. You just have to keep that in mind. So you hold on to your foundation, making yourself a culture add and not a culture fit. That is where the pros and cons of cultural identity comes in.
Yes. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I have one more question for you, and then, because I know we both have a busy day and we have somewhere to be at 4 p.m.
Yes.
How are you enjoying it so far?
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much.
Um, you said that COVID taught you human value. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Sure, sure. You know, the world has gone through so much within the past, what is it, 2 years, going on 3 years now? If we have not learned something, COVID-19 pandemic, I don't know if we'll ever learn anything else again. COVID taught us about being human centric. And what I mean by that is really valuing life, treating people like they matter, especially in the workplace, instead of just focusing on business profit, changing our mindsets to human behavior, using that human centric approach, empathizing with human feelings, meeting people where they are, understanding that people do not just show up for work to be robots. People show up and with their holistic selves. There is things that surround a human being. There's the mind, body, and spirit of a human being, not just that physical being coming into your place of work. So if they're not whole, mind, body, and spirit, they cannot function at their full capacity because you want them to be their full authentic self when they show up to your place of work. But if we just approach them with that understanding that something may be challenges to them, then we will be able to approach them and support them so that they continue to be their authentic selves and perform at their full potential. So using that human-centric approach will help to provide that space, that safe and non-judgmental space to allow them the possibility and the environment to function at their full potential. That's what I mean by that human-centric approach. Going to your employees and saying, are you okay? How can I help you? Having a plan B for when they're not okay, to provide the resources and the assistance needed to help them. I realize that things are not working out, or you looks like you're not, are feeling well today. How can I be of help to you? How can I support you? And actually having resources to support and not always penalizing or being, rough with your employees or your coworkers, saying you've been calling out, penalizing them or suspending them or just focusing on the profit of your business. Because COVID did not care your credentials. COVID did not discriminate. COVID just infected anybody and everybody. It did not discriminate whether you were a doctor, a nurse, a minister, a president. It just affected everybody. That taught us a big lesson that your credentials don't matter, your position doesn't matter, your leadership position doesn't matter. You are still a human being. So let's just be human and treat each other with respect and forget about credentials and positions and respect one another and put ourselves in everyone's shoes. Because most people really do not leave your organization because of your organization. They leave because they disagree with how each we're treating each other and relating to one another.
Mm. I learned that it is best to, well, for me, the COVID experience, was kind of like Noah's Ark experience. He's
Hmm.
sitting you down for a reason. Take
Hmm.
that time to evaluate and refocus and
Hmm.
recenter and love on the ones that are here,
Hmm.
because the ones that he took, God, there's a reason for everything. And you can't
Yes.
um, question, you know, man
Hmm.
sinned is not God.
Mm-mm. Not at all.
So, but I do thank you so much for your time. I know that we both have a milestones circles program at 4 o'clock. That's what I was in both. But thank you for joining me. How can the audience and the viewers and the listeners reach you? Do you have electronic press kit? I'm also going to put it in the description as well. Um,
Okay. Awesome.
but if you'd like to give a link tree, an email, website.
Sure. Sure. Awesome. Thank you all so much for listening. You can follow me on social media. I'm on all social media platforms on LinkedIn as Dr. Eunice Gwanmesia, on Instagram, eunity.solutions, and Dr. Eunice.Gwanmesia, on Facebook as eunitysolutions, as well as Dr. Gwanmesia, and email eunitysolutions, admin@eunitysolutions.com. And what else did I not say? Oh, website is www.eunitysolutions.com. And you can reach us by phone as well at 302-336-8197. Thank you so much for watching today.
Thank you for being here and telling your success story and your journey. And God bless you and your family. And let us know if there's going to be another book out.
You never know. And remember also that the books are on pre-order right now. And I know Miss Denise is going to share that link to pre-order your
Yes.
copies. And please join us on the book launch on February 8th from 12 to 1 p.m. It's via Zoom, and it's on Eventbrite as well. You can register to join us. We would love to see you. And thank you so much.
As always, guys, thank you for tuning in to Entrepreneurial Empire. Be bold, be beautiful, and be blessed. Until next
Awesome.
time.
And thank you so much, Miss Denise.
Thank you.
You're welcome.